walking home from school, playing with fireworks, and eating popsicles. At first glance, the Summer Hikaru Died looks like an incredibly relaxing slice of life anime, right? But it's not. This anime is actually a psychological horror and uses its mundane and relaxing atmosphere not to jump scare you, but to let the suspense and dread creep under your skin. I've never seen a horror anime quite like this one. I'm the Chill Samurai, and today we're talking about the Summer Hikaru Died and how this slice of life is secretly a horror. Oh, and I'm going to try and keep the spoilers to a minimum as the show goes in some insane directions. The Summer Hikaru Died follows Yoshiki, who lives in a small and tight-knit village and often hangs out with his best friend, Hikaru. Hikaru went missing in the mountains and was presumed dead, until he reappeared a few days later. The thing is, Yoshiki quickly realizes that the Hikaru he knew is no more, and what comes back is something else. After confronting it and having a near-death experience, he decides this anime goes pretty deep. It touches on themes of identity, love, grief, and death, among others. As Yoshiki tries to deal with his conflicting emotions on the new Hikaru, they find themselves in various terrifying situations. All while a central mystery unravels involving the mountain, the town, and a strange Ghostbuster man with a hamster. While there is plenty of mystery, the focus overall falls into what I call the dual atmosphere the anime has going on. What is this dual atmosphere, you might ask? One is the mundane and normal life of living in the town, and the other is a bit more sinister. In Japan, the spooky season is actually during the summer, not fall. This switch in mindset can give Japanese horror a pretty different vibe than American Halloween horror. Moving outside of anime for a second, let's take a look at The Ring and its Japanese original film, Ringu. In the American remake, when the main character is going to a cabin to play the mysterious tape, this is how it is framed. The lighting is pretty dark, the cabin is run down, and there's an interesting lack of music to create dread. In America, with the exception of something like Midsummer, you rarely see horrifying situations in broad daylight. It's usually when the characters are alone at night or in some sketchy old house when something spooky happens. Now, let's take a look at the Japanese original. Okay, if you saw this clip with no audio or context, this would look like a perfectly fine place to spend the night in, right? The colors are bright, the cabin looks honestly quite nice, but the tell is the super ominous music that makes the whole thing feel off. This right off the bat shows that American horror might make you creeped out by the dark visuals, while Japanese horror is fine either way, as long as the creepy atmosphere is achieved. The Summer Hikaru Died uses this kind of trick all the time, but with a slight difference from Ringu. Instead of looking like a slice of life but having ominous music or something, it acts just like a slice of life, until you've almost forgotten about the grief and horror that this show contains. That way, when there's a subtle or not so subtle shift in atmosphere, it creates a very stark contrast. From here, let's talk about each atmosphere in a bit more depth, starting with the feel-good of a slice of life. In order for the horror to really land, it needs to feel like a real and comforting slice of life anime. Aesthetically, Cygame's pictures came swinging with this one. Amazing looking food? Check. Close-up shots of inanimate objects that have so much detail you can't help but love it? Check. Amazing sound design? Absolutely check. Above all, the major element I noticed that gives it the slice of life vibe is the school in the countryside. Because it's in the countryside, you've got beautiful shots of them going to or from school through open fields or the forest. Even the houses and markets have a very appealing look to them. Their school is a place of safety, where they can make fun of the music teacher, sing together with the class, or hang out with their friends. The relationship between Hikaru when Yoshiki is pretending everything's normal is convincing enough that it too, in many instances, adds a ton to the slice of life feel. especially as Yoshiki becomes more attached. These scenes always have super warm lighting and is built to be nostalgic and take you back to the good old days. I know I said the school is a safe, happy place, but this isn't always the case. The anime has a few different approaches to horror that I noticed. The first is the uncanny body horror. Sometimes it takes completely normal events and scenery and puts it in just the right context to feel a bit off. The biggest example is with Hikaru's replacement itself. It walks, talks, and generally acts like Hikaru. Not only that, but has all his memories, so he can talk with Yoshiki as if he was actually there at various moments. This not only makes it harder not to be attached to him, but makes his existence almost offensive to the actual Hikaru's life. Hikaru is gone, yet this thing knows of all of their best moments together and wants to continue to make new ones. Yoshiki tries to convince himself that's normal, because the grief of having no Hikaru at all is much, much worse. At least that's what he tells himself. The horror quickly morphs from worrying if the fake Hikaru is gonna kill Yoshiki, to what happens when they mix too much, and what will Yoshiki be willing to do to have even a semblance of the old Hikaru? Will he be able to withstand the pressure of the secret and the lie? Also, what is this fake Hikaru anyways? And what will he do if anyone else finds out the secret? We learned early on how incredibly powerful he is, so depending on how he's feeling, anything's possible. This type of horror is perfect for camouflaging in the slice of life, because that's exactly what Hikaru is doing. Questions can be either exciting or terrifying. In this case, the amount of things that could go wrong add a ton to the dread and unease. It's all about slowly building the tension over the course of the series. This tension continues to build not only for Yoshiki, but for the town itself as well. One aspect that adds fuel to the fire is when Hikaru's presence accidentally attracts other beings. This other type of horror explored has an almost analog horror feeling to it. Not so much in the sense of having a deep rabbit hole of lore that unravels as you play Lost Tapes. That honor would go to Hikaru and the town. What I mean is, these ghosts can appear at completely random moments, and when they do appear, they change the look of the anime completely. The anime no longer feels the need to hide its horror nature as the animation gets more grainy, like you're playing the latest Fears to Fathom game or something. At this point, they don't mind using a jump scare or two, but it works because of the contrast between the different looks and feels. This change in pace really helps highlight the otherworldly nature of these beings, and the real danger that Yoshiki is in these moments. But the key difference that made me fear these things more is it's not just Yoshiki that's in danger. As the veil becomes thinner, Yoshiki can accidentally put friends and family members in danger just by being around Hikaru. Now again, I won't spoil, but each encounter with the spirit becomes way more intense than the last. And they add enough variety to each encounter that it's not only interesting, but very memorable. Now, the real reason why it feels like a horror within a slice of life is because that's exactly what Hikaru and Yoshiki are doing. They are living in an actual horror anime. Instead of facing or resolving the issue, however, they try to hide it and bury it down to live in a slice of life one instead. The issue is that when you bury fear and grief, it tends to come out, one way or another. This horror is a pressure cooker that waits to see when they'll crack. You care because there's actually a lot of hard and complex emotions explored, so you want the best for them. In any case, the Summer Hikaru Died is a one-of-a-kind anime, and you owe it to yourself to explore it for yourself if it looks like your thing. If you want me to go more in depth on this one, or any other anime for that matter, let me know in the comments. And with that, thanks for watching. Please